1 hour in the morning, and you'll be seeking for it the whole day. So they say, make sure that you don't lose any minute today. You'll bang on time for Uongozi today here on Morning Prime on this day of 17th of November 2023, where we hack back to the beginning of the week and we see how it has really panned out as far as politics, economy, and the social pillar of the country is concerned. Here on Uongozi today, we keep them honest on a raft of issues as far as governance, corporate governance is concerned as well. Right, this morning we have a lot to cover. We're joined by Dr. Barak Muluka, who is a strategic communication advisor. Also, we're joined by Kipruto Arab-Kiro, who is a governance and policy analyst, Professor Fred Ogola, who is an economist, and also we'll be joined by Dr. Martin Olo, who is an advocate of the High Court. We shall be slicing and dicing, of course, a lot of issues that we have to cover this week, especially with the dossier that came yesterday regarding the G2G oil deal. What is at issue? That is a question. The government has actually slighted this particular revelations from Raila Odinga as just mere pep talk. Or is it? We shall be looking at that as well. But let's see how the weather will be today so that you might be advised whether to carry your brolly or not. How the weather will be today. Make sure you keep yourself laid up, keep warm. It's numbingly cold, of course, early in the morning as well. But let's see what is fresh off the press this morning. Beginning with the bold paper, this is what you're waking up to on the front page of The Standard today. Ruto oil deal a scam, it says. That is what we have as a splash there. The plan. Opposition leader says the government did not enter into deals with other governments, but instead framed it that way to facilitate three companies to avoid paying corporate tax, a charge that he said has been passed to consumers. He asked government not to only cancel the deal but also make it public. This is what is on the front page of The Standard this morning. It will be up momentarily. And their demands for Mazimir, we'll run you by that story. They are saying cancel Ruto. It says cancel. Ruto must cancel the contract and revert to open tender. Right, let me just show you how it is because you just joined it midway. This is how it looks. Ruto oil deal a scam. Opposition leader says the government did not enter into deals with other governments, but instead framed it that way to facilitate three companies to avoid paying corporate tax, a charge that he said has been passed on to consumer. He asked government to not only cancel the deal, but also make it public. So these are the demands, as I was showing you. First, cancel. Ruto must cancel the contract and revert to open tender system, which ensured guaranteed supply of oil. On probe, the AACC to probe the deal and find out how and why country got into into it and who is benefiting. Also, SAC officials, President should send home whoever came up with the deal and they be surcharged. Also, tax break, government must restore taxes to 8% from 16% that came with the Finance Act and come clean as well. Government must make public the so-called MOU between Kenya and Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Open the deal. Ministry of Energy and Petroleum must make public the deal it signed with the oil companies. This is a story that you want to follow inside the Standard this morning. Also, no fist for Mombasa yet. That is the story there. Now that the MCAs are looking for another impeachment, and she has also indicated that she desires the county to be dissolved by the president. No fist for Mombasa yet. Meru governor says she is ready for the dissolution of the county a day after MCAs said they will impeach her cabinet. You have the story on page 10 of the Standard. Ex-road boss, roads boss, to forfeit 500 million shillings. Former senior manager at the Rural Roads Authority will surrender property worth £500 million shillings, court said was proceeds of graft. That's a story that you want to follow on page 8 of the Standard this morning. On top, government to spend 187 billion shillings more. MPs yesterday called out state officials for their role in budget making after the supplementary budget was increased. Also, for the young and young at heart, you have the Polls magazine records of 2023. They're all tabulated inside the Polls magazine. And economic stability, a probing question there. Kenya inks 100 billion shillings more. That is a loan that has been advanced there by IMF. So we're still on the borrowing spree, but it's a good reprieve as well, as I say, for the Eurobond payment. The story is on page 4 of the Standard this morning. Daily Nation, Raila wants G2G fuel deal scrapped. This is what is on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. War of words, opposition chief Raila Odinga now demands a cancellation and investigation of controversial deal, saying it is designed to protect 3 local oil companies from paying 30% corporate tax. National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah dismisses Mr. Odinga's claims as hot air and political propaganda. Here are the claims. I already buy some of them on the front page of a Standard. Let's see how different it is in the Daily Nation. Claims are here. G2G, Mr. Odinga claims that the deal is not a government-to-government one, but one entered with state-owned petroleum companies in the Middle East. Also on taxes, the deal was meant to protect Gulf Energy, Galana Oil Kenya, and Oryx Energies Kenya Limited from paying 30% corporate tax. This is what he says. On dollar wars, Azimio leader alleges the oil deal has failed to address any of the problems that President William Ruto said it would when he launched it in March. This is a story that you want to follow on page 4 of the Daily Nation. On the side, but 21 years, recruitment age for police, prison and NYS officers if proposals by Marago team are adopted. Also, police set for 40% pay rise in radical reforms. We'll give you the details much later in the course of the program. I didn't know my daughter is filthy rich. This is a revelation that is coming from Wanjiru Njoroge, Pauline. This is the mother of Anne Njoroge. She's 71, the mother of businesswoman Anne Njeri, speaking to the Nation team on Wednesday at her Kianjege village home in Kiambu County. And she had no sorting idea that how our daughter could be this rich. I didn't know my daughter is filthy rich. This is the story you want to follow on page 3. It says Pauline Wanjiru Njoroge, the mother of businesswoman Anne Njeri, who has been in the headlines over the contested ownership of the 17 billion shillings oil shipment, says she's surprised to learn that her firstborn daughter is rich. The last time she saw her daughter was close to 6 years ago. Ms. Wanjiru, 71, has only been communicating with her on phone, and the last time they talked was nearly 4 months ago, only to find her splashed on the front pages of the dailies. Graft war, Ruto sends home 5 CEOs in purge, and their faces are splashed here. This is Frederick Mati, the CEO of Tanathi Waterworks Development Agency. Also, we have Stephen Ogenga, the Director General of NITA. Stanvas Ongalo, the Acting Director General National Museums of Kenya. Benjamin Kai Chilumo, the CEO of Huduma Center Secretariat. We have also Peter Gitar Korea, the CEO and the General Manager of Bombers of Kenya. That is a story that you want to follow inside the Daily Nation this morning. The Voices also comes in handy for you every Friday. And they're talking about the women politicians making a mark. All that is tucked away inside the Daily Nation this morning. Let's see what the Star is holding for us. Raila cartels make Ruto fuel expensive. This is what is holding as a splash this morning. And the flag reads, alleges rip-off. As Mayor Chief calls President's oil deal a scam and demands investigation. Odinga says there was never a government-to-government arrangement. And you can follow the story on page 4 and 5 of the Star. Heated debate as MPs approve Haiti deployment. And you can see illustrations here. Haiti is escalating gang violence, has been rising exponentially currently. It looks at who the people that have been killed in the first quarter of 2023. That number has risen to 846. And just some snippet that maybe you should be aware about 300 gangs are active, and 80% of them in the capital. Closest neighbors are Jamaica and Cuba. Capital Port-au-Prince has 3 million people and also has a long history of powerful earthquakes. French is the official language. The people practice voodoo, and poorest country in the Caribbean. Violence has claimed 1 million lives since January 2023. You can follow the story inside the Star this morning. Koske orders suspension of 6 CEOs, cops counted as well. Police officers lined up for pay rise in Maraga. Report on cases of fake academic papers rock Parliament. This story continues on page 6. So far, 25 personnel from the Parliamentary Service Commission have been sent home. You can follow the story inside the Star as well. JK mishaps. Is it a case of citizen saboteurs or simply shoddy work, sloppy work? That is where they are focusing their story. Succession was as well is tucked away inside their Siasa pull-out magazine that comes in handy for you inside the Star. People Daily, Raila to Ruto come clean on fuel deal is what is holding as a splash this morning. Was it government to government? That is a probing question, as Mayor Leader wants President to cancel supply contract with 2 Middle East companies, seeks truth on beneficiaries of pact, and which Kenya pays 180 days after receiving fuel. Seems that is what is headlining across the dailies this morning, and you can follow the story on page 4 of the People Daily this morning. And exchanges are here. Have Kenya firms in fuel deal been paying tax? Why is shilling still weak against the dollar? And why has the dollar shortage persisted if fuel contract is working? This is what Azmi Chief is asking. Ishungwa hits back at former PM. He says substantiate. Majority leader in the National Assembly challenges ODM leader to prove tax evasion claims. That is the rejoinder there. And also Azmi to call fresh protest. That is the next action there. Floods have claimed 46 lives so far. This is what Red Cross is saying. You can read all about it inside the People Daily this morning. Ni bonge la skendo. That is what is on the front page of Taifa Leo. Ni bonge la skendo. Right, that is the coinage of the Swahili word for scandal. Odinga asema mpango wa uagizaji mafuta uliotangazwa na Ruto Aprili ni kashfa iliyochangia gharama ya maisha kupanda. You can follow the story inside Taifa Leo this morning, and we can buckle now to business. But looking on top there on the flag, Mwangaza sasa aunga kaunti ya Meru ivunjwe. Wabunge wakaidi mahakama. You can read all about it also on page 2 of Taifa Leo. As we buckle down to business, IMF is rescuing Kenya from 300 billion shilling zero bond scare. That is what is holding as a splash today. IMF rescued Kenya from 300 billion shilling zero bond scare. Lend approves additional 142.6 billion shillings to Kenya. State plans fast 45 billion shillings installment in December. And this continues on page 2 of the Business Daily today. Payroll taxes register biggest shortfall since COVID-19. There has been, of course, a very dismal falling there as far as payroll is concerned. After many people were laid off, that is also affecting the KRA pay-as-you-earn collections. IFC, I should say, invests 32 billion shillings in Kenya biofuel project, and KPA boss admits one community dominates its workforce. The Kenya Ports Authority has admitted the majority of its employees are from one dominant ethnic community after it absorbed the staff of the defunct Kenya Ferry Services. That story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. In Uganda, this is what you're waking up to. Among slums breaks on agencies mergers. Speaker of Parliament yesterday asked pertinent questions about the process government was following to rationalize and merge over two dozen agencies. You have a story on page 4 of the Daily Monitor. And yesterday was a big day there. Zinga wedding to last only 2 hours. All roads, it says here, lead to Busoga as the clock runs down on the long-awaited royal wedding in Busoga. The Kingdom Prime Minister has said exchanges of vows at Christ Cathedral in Bugembe will only last 2 hours. And you can follow the story on page 3 of the Daily Monitor. And this is the princess. Right, all eyes will be focused there in Uganda today. In Tanzania, envoy, why East Africa can be gateway to African economy. This is what Australia envoy is talking about. Australia is banking on East Africa as a center for significant economic development in Africa and has decided to relocate its Africa Trade Commissioner from Johannesburg to Nairobi. The story continues inside the Citizen in Tanzania. And East Africa exports to rest, or East Africa exports to rest of continent hit 9 billion shillings, 9 billion US dollars actually. That is the story that you want to follow inside the Citizen this morning. Denmark reverses decision to close its embassy, and you can read all about it inside the Citizen as well. In Rwanda, Rwanda installed floods monitors on Nile basin rivers and lakes. It's of course a devastation that is affecting every East African community member. The monitors effectively communicate fluctuations in water levels every 5 minutes. And this is a story that continues on page 3 of the New Times. Maybe we should borrow a leaf from Rwanda, this installation here, because we're also being devastated by this developments of the floods as well. Over 160 asylum seekers from Libya arrive in Rwanda. Over 160 asylum seekers from Libya arrive in Rwanda. And you can just see the picture there, some of 169 asylum seekers from Libya arriving in Kigali International Airport yesterday. That was on Thursday, November the 16th. The new group is composed by people originating from Eritrea, Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, and South Sudan. They will be accommodated in Gashora Transit Center in Busegera District. And also this follows the big blow that the Supreme Court of UK determined on Wednesday regarding the UK-Rwanda migrant asylum deal, that now the Prime Minister has to go back to the drawing board to see what is the way forward. I shall be showing you our international publications, Economist as well, and the Newsweek, amongst others, as we continue to pace with the conversation here this morning. But I want to unveil